Hi, thank you so much. I want to recognize the chair and thank all the members of the committee for putting on this hearing, for giving me a couple minutes to chat. My name is Luke Niforatos. I'm the Executive Vice President of SAM, Smart Approaches to Marijuana. We are led by a Science Health Advisory Board that leads our work from a science and public health perspective. I'm going to be speaking today in opposition of this bill, HB 37, as well as HB 1. So I just wanted to preface this with that. But the two concerns I have about HB 37 and what I'm seeing here. So the first piece of this is, from a public health perspective, I'm concerned about funding studies into the public health impacts on the heels of a ballot referendum just moving forward, regardless of what is found, to legalize this. That concerns me because I think we need more time to assess what is found in the study. I'm from Colorado. I live here currently. And in Colorado, we've seen a whole host of public health consequences that now we're fighting against a marijuana industry that spent $7 million to lobby against us, which I can guarantee you is a lot more than what public health has to lobby with. So I think to assess what the final However, I question whether any of these measures will be able to compete with big tobacco companies, which are already overtaking this industry. So nationally, the marijuana industry is less than 5% minority, 5% Black owned, less than 5% Black owned nationally, this industry is. So you're already starting at a massive deficit. Big tobacco companies have put more than $2 billion into this industry. They're the ones lobbying to legalize it in places like Virginia and elsewhere. These are companies that have made a killing and a lot of profit off of victimizing vulnerable communities, and I'm concerned about opening the doors to them. While your loan programs and other programs that you have in this legislation are well intended, to be quite frank, they are pennies on the dollar compared to what big tobacco corporations will put in. And while we may segment licenses for communities of color, what happens when a small business opens and then it sells for a very large payday to a large tobacco company, for example? So one person's made a lot of money, but then for generations to come, that community is no longer reaping the profits of what was given. Instead, those profits are going to out-of-state national corporations.
Mr. Niforatos, if you would begin to wrap up.
Yes, thank you. I apologize. So those are my two major concerns. The other thing I'll say is I didn't see anything about the illicit and underground markets, which are ravaging states that have legalized it, more than half the market. So those are my three concerns on this bill, and I'll be testifying again, but happy to take any questions folks may have.
Thank you very much. Jordan Davidson, please, for 2 minutes.
Yes, thank you so much for having me here. I'm really honored to speak in front of the committee. So I'm a young person in addiction recovery. I struggled with a cannabis use disorder. I got into recovery before the age of 18, and I have over 3 years of sobriety. And my main concern is, number one, of the public health implications of this. In the testimony before, people were worried about opening Pandora's box. This is exactly what you're doing. There's no hiding it. All you have to do is look at other countries like Canada and other states in the United States like California and Colorado to see that that is exactly what is happening. The first state to legalize recreational marijuana, Colorado, is now actually backtracking a little bit and actually trying to put stronger reforms because they realized that what they had before was too weak. That's exactly what will happen in the state of Maryland if this legislation is passed. And additionally, in regard to the ballot measure, it's exactly true what Luke was saying before, that if you pass this ballot measure and if it passes on a vote, this study will not have enough time. The commission will not have enough time to actually go through results and year by year and find the findings that they do and be able to implement the public health changes. Big tobacco, big alcohol, big business will buy it out essentially. And the second concern I have is about the black market. We have seen time and time again in other states. Look at California, where the LA Times just put out an article saying that 75% of the marijuana sold on the California market is sold in the illicit market. The same thing is happening in Colorado. The same thing is happening in many, many other legal states. You're going to have a rampant illicit market, and it's difficult to control. The governor, Kate Brown, in the state of Oregon declared a state of emergency because of their illicit marijuana problems. And I see nothing in this legislation, and I definitely see nothing that would pass from a ballot measure that would do anything really to protect that. There are weak regulations that would actually do that. And states like California are having to sacrifice tax dollars now in order to attempt to combat that. Is that what we want? Are the social programs and the communities that you're saying marijuana legalization will fund really going to suffer, or are they going to benefit? We're seeing in other states that they're going to suffer, and they're going to suffer in Maryland as well.
Hi, everyone, and it's great to get some practice with some Greek last names, so I hope everyone's enjoying that. Thanks for suffering me for another 2 minutes. These will be your last, I promise. I have concerns about this bill because I'm not going to ask the committee a question because I don't think that's my place, but if you have never heard of a marijuana dab before, or if you have never heard of what shatter and wax are, then I guarantee you most voters have never heard of those things either. And I am deeply concerned about the level of how possible it will be to inform all voters who are going to vote on this initiative, which is why I oppose putting this initiative forward to the voters, because I'm concerned it will be impossible to inform everyone of what products are being sold in legal markets. I will tell you, here in Colorado, we've had legalization for 10 years, and most of our voters don't even know that we are selling unlimited potency marijuana products, that gummies and candies are being used, that Sesame Street characters are being used to advertise pot cookies. Our voters don't know this stuff. And it's very hard to become an expert overnight, especially when you're talking about your state with millions of people who will be voting on this measure, making sure they're informed. So I'm concerned about that. From a process question, I would ask a hypothetical question for the meditation of this committee, which is, would we like it if Purdue Pharma marketed their latest opioid product and put it on the ballot for a vote? I don't think we would want that to happen. And the answers to that would be because A, we know that there are problems with this drug, and B, we know how much money they have and that they could try to sway public opinion with myths and lies, which is what Purdue Pharma actively did across this country to create an opioid crisis. By the way, the former CEO of Purdue Pharma who wrote that game plan, Mr. Stewart, he's actually in the marijuana industry right now. So it's not a parallel association, it's a linked association here. So I am worried about the fact that when you look at the combined money spent to pass ballot initiatives in states to legalize marijuana, it was over $150 million spent in support of it by the industry. And when you look at the anti side, it was 10 million combined across all the states. Okay, so multiple 10 times, many times over the money on the pro side because of the industry and the profit alignment there. So we need to be concerned about, I will say, it's much easier to educate all of you, all the folks in all the delegates and senators on the pros and cons, and you all can make a decision. It is very difficult to educate millions of voters and give them a fair fight, give them a fair, example. So for those reasons, I'm sorry, Chair, I will finish. For those reasons, I urge you not to put this before the voters because A, I think you all are doing a wonderful job representing your voters, and B, I just don't think there's a possibility to have a fair fight when it comes to debating this issue.
Thank you very much. We'll go now to Jordan Davidson, please.
Yeah, thank you. This will also be my last 2 minutes. 10 years ago, the rate of marijuana addiction, right, was 1 in 10. Today, the National Institute on Drug Abuse estimates that it's upwards of 1 in 3, right? High potency products that are being sold in legal markets are undoubtedly the biggest factor in this increase because the higher the potency, the higher the rate of addiction. That is just sound science. Putting this up to a ballot measure is not only not the way to go about this, but it is just the most damaging way. And the number one reason for that is because voters just actually are believing the myths of the marijuana industry, right? Majority of people don't actually think that marijuana is an addictive substance. And I think we've actually seen this before. This isn't an uncommon thing. We've heard from leaders in different industries of different substances, alcohol, tobacco, opioids. We've heard this story before. Miracle drug, non-addictive. If you remember that was the main selling point in the 1990s. Purdue Pharma, OxyContin has an addiction rate of 1%. That is what we've heard. We've seen the devastation of the results of that. And we're seeing the devastation in legal states of the results of just blatantly false marketing of marijuana products and their addictiveness. We have leaders in this industry saying that their products aren't addictive, saying that they're a cure-all. So why are we putting this to voters when they're being when the campaigns are drastically outspent every single time by the people who are promoting the products and promoting that it's not addictive, promoting honestly things that are unscientific, blatantly. Why would we go down this road? The last message that I'll leave you with is you won't be able to take this back. This isn't something that you're going to be able to just completely say, let's have a do-over, click a do-over. We can't do that with cigarettes. We are struggling. We have struggled for 25 years now to do that with prescription opioids and heroin and now fentanyl. And this is a really huge decision you're making about the safety for our communities and the safety of people like me who suffer from the disease of addiction, and people in communities who aren't privileged, who don't have the access to the resources that I've been lucky enough to access. This isn't a little thing about putting a little more money in someone's pocket here or there. This is lives on the line and addiction and devastation of communities.
Mr. Davidson?
Yep, that's all I have to say. Thank you so much.